Okay, everybody. We had a lot of technical difficulties. So, my bad. Uh, Here's my janky setup. Um, okay, I'm scared to put it into this, but I'm gonna. Okay. So, for the third time, we're gonna try this. Hopefully, this will be good. There's a house that sits beyond dark, dense woods. Like the world fading into view after a dream. That old mansion appears before you. Oh, I'm gonna pop everything now. Ugh. Without realizing it, you instinctively accept as truth the events unfolding before you. The house lives in perpetuity. A lot of SAT words in this. No one knows who first said. That the mansion is cursed. So I have no idea what Fata Morgana means. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Have mercy on me, O Father. And cast their souls into eternal damnation. Sounds like some old school Catholic Church shit right there. I was looking down upon a corpse. My own corpse. Well, that's interesting. I was afflicted with great despair at the sight of it being dragged to the place of my crucifixion. Go hard or go home. That's all I'm gonna say. My soul crumbled, and I was wholly extinguished. Indeed, I did once lose everything. However, as I faded into darkness everlasting, I heard a voice calling out to me. And so, I vowed once more that no matter how long it may take, how great the obstacles that stand in my way, or what form you may assume, I shall come back for you. that I must return to that house. So I ask of you, please wait until this mutilated body arrives there once more. Your consciousness, wavering like a ship at sea, was slowly drawn back to the surface. With each new breath, feeling gradually return to your fingers. Master, you could hear the pattering of rain from somewhere. Master, and the sound of a crackling fire. Wake up, Master. Creak, creak, creak. Wake up. Oh, I don't like the sound. When you came to, you were rocking back and forth in a rocking chair. The room was dimly lit. Aside from the flickering of the fireplace, there was no other illumination. No light shone through the closed windows. There was only the pitter-patter of rain on the glass. It was as though the whole mansion had been enveloped in darkness. Oh, splendid! You have finally awoken. Someone called out to you. You were about to search the room, but that turned out to be unnecessary. The source of the voice was crouching beside the chair, looking up at you with emerald eyes. Good morning, Master. I'm gonna be polite, so we'll greet her too. What is the matter? Are you still waking up? Also, I really love her model. Her eyes are very pretty. You seem rather drowsy. Come now, you must gather yourself. Though I am glad to hear your voice. I have simply been waiting so long for this moment. Tending to the mansion all by my lonesome, ensuring it was ready for your return, whenever that time may be. When I caught sight of you through the window, my heart fluttered. The time had finally arrived. You were perplexed. This woman, who looked like a maid, seemed to know you, but you had no memory of her. What kind of herbal tea would you like to start your day with? I have some wonderful chamomile leaves if you would like. Or perhaps your tastes have changed since we last met. Tell me, Master, what would you like? I beg your pardon. I allow myself to get too excited. But I hope you will be sympathetic, Master. I am just utterly elated that I could see you again. The woman appeared to be genuinely delighted that you had awoken, but she seemed to lack the energy typical of her age. Or perhaps life was a more appropriate word than energy. But the gloom extended beyond the maid. It seemed to encompass the entire mansion. The plaster walls, illuminated by the fireplace, and the rose engravings in the ebony pillars felt vaguely familiar. But a crushing sense of claustrophobia overpowered that familiarity. It seemed as though the house wasn't interested in accepting you just yet. So, I have to stop here and kind of add a side note, but often in the gothic romance, there is a curse on a family or a house. And so this makes me think, when it says the house isn't interested in accepting you just yet, the house has a sort of sentience or perhaps a spirit. But we'll just have to see what happens. But that's just a thought I had. Oh my, you do not know who I am? Do you not know who you are either? That is quite the predicament. Yeah, no shit. If you cannot remember who you are, then who am I to serve? The woman's face was pale, almost as though she is dead. A faint chill ran down her spine. My thoughts exactly. You are the master of this house, though it would seem you have no memories of such. Quite the dilemma. If you know not who you are, then you are no different than a stranger to me, no? Indeed, you have returned. But from where? That I cannot say. Then how about this? I am a servant of this mansion, and as such, I am familiar with the many incidents that have taken place here. I shall show you the history of this house, master. That will surely allow you to recall who you are. The freshly awakened gears in your head began to turn as you mulled things over. The maid had called you the master of this house, but without a single mirror in the room, you had no way of seeing what you look like. Unable to decide, you reflexively nodded. Let us be off then, and fear not. I merely entreat you not to let go of my hand. Should you hold it tightly, you need not worry about being washed away by the waves of history. Excuse me. Ooh. You guys have to realize this is the third time I've seen all this, so I'm sorry if I'm not that animated. I'm still trying to figure out how OBS works. Okay, no matter what happens, you mustn't let go of my hand. Your hand in hers, you followed the maid's lead through the hall. The air within the mansion was oppressive, as though a black miasma hovered within. The house was bleak and barren, hardly a trace of color to be found. You came across an open window. Beyond it lay nothing but darkness. Neither sunlight nor moonlight could be seen. That makes me wonder if we're in an alternate plane of reality. Perhaps this is the afterlife. There were no chirping birds, no rustling grass, no sign to life at all. Everything that would normally give color to the world had vanished entirely. The only other presence was that of the maid. Following her lead, you proceeded through the mansion. After some time, you arrived at a double door, the glass within shattered. The door, once pure white, had long since faded into a dull gray. It appeared to lead to the back garden. You could hear children laughing on the other side. That's creepy. Though it is in the state you now see it, a beautiful, beautiful garden once lay beyond these doors. The owner of the time enjoyed gathering rare species of rose from all across the world. At its grandest, it seemed every flower was in constant competition for the most majestic bloom. Would you like to see this wonderful era of splendor and prosperity? I very much hope it is to your liking, master. The maid opened the doors to the back garden. A sudden gust of wind brushed across your face, forcing you to close your eyes as you followed the maid out the doors. When you next opened your eyes, the world was no longer blanketed in shadows. So for those of you who don't know a lot about this game, because it is a visual novel, is divided into chapters. And how they've decided to do it is by doors. So chapter 1 is the first door, and we will be going through different periods of time. So right now we're in 1603. In just 15 more years, it will be the beginning of the 30 Years' War. So we're in what's called the Golden Age. The mansion had an alluring air of beauty about it in that era. It was almost like something out of a fairy tale. This period of history could perhaps be described as a symphony of destruction, as cumbersome principles of old came crashing down. Freed from the day-to-day oppression of these antiquated precepts, the people seemed to hark back to the more poetic, expressive ways of old. They took these newly blossoming emotions in hand, and with them they wrote literature, painted portraits, composed theater, and found life. Even the church, which had maintained authority throughout the Middle Ages, embraced the changing times, adopting the culture's flowering sense of aesthetic. War would break out not 20 years from then, plucking the ripened era from the tree of history, but that is of no concern to us now. It will be soon, if if I remember correctly, the 30 Years' War started with someone being thrown from a window. It's called defenestration. The defenestration of Prague, I think. The defenestration of Prague. The defenestration of Prague was central to the start of the 30 Years' War in 1618. I remember that from my German literature class from the Middle Ages to the Enlightenment, I think. At the time, it was still what people referred to as the Golden Age, a period of furor for all who were there. Now let us take a slight detour. No, we will not be changing locations. This is a tale about the mansion, from beginning to end. We will, however, be moving through time. Say, about 8 years into the past, so now we are in 1595. A very wealthy family lived in the house then. The mother and father, brother and sister all had distinctive, beautiful flaxen hair. I was always enamored by their hair. By contrast, mine is like a wet crow. Oh crap, what did I do? Oh. Sorry, someone called me. Okay. Sorry about that. It seems if you hit the right button, it decides to fast forward. So my bad. The girl you see cheerfully picking crimson roses and singing like a songbird was called Nellie. Though young, she sang with elegance. Nellie was deeply fond of the house's garden, and she would often spend her afternoons there. Gorgeous roses gathered from all across the world bloomed in the garden. They were given the utmost care, and even had their thorns removed. So young Nellie would not hurt herself naturally. Wow. Some poor person had to go cutting thorns off of roses, which the roses grow back, and then you have to go and do it again. Damn. Sometimes I wonder what goes through the thoughts of people who have workers that do things for them. The light brown-haired girl carefully plucked petals from the roses, gathering them up as she sang. Her voice was like music played by fairies. Nay, the sight of her was like an angel descended from heaven. Oh dear, please don't look at me like that. I admit I was being rather fanciful. But what is a woman if not fanciful? Little bird, singing night and day. Poor little birdie heart, sing your woes away. Pretty flowers all around the little birds. And even when the sun comes up, oh, dearest, no, I've forgotten what comes next. Are you listening? Okay, I am going to go in, turn it down a little bit, because it's grating on my ears. Okay, that's a little better. Hopefully you guys can still hear it. Nellie was, as a matter of fact, not the only visitor to the rose garden that day. She always came with her older brother Mel. The young siblings were inseparable. Mel adored his little sister, who in turn pined for his attention. The sight of the two innocent children cuddling together, not yet shackled by fear for the future, was truly heartwarming. Yeah, that is kind of an adult thing to worry about the future, but I was always worried about the future when I was a kid, but I have anxiety issues, so that's just because I'm weird. That day, Mel was sitting in the shade of a tree reading a book. As I am sure you are aware, in their time, books could not yet be mass-produced. That is bullshit. I'm sorry. As a German major, I have to correct that. Johannes Gutenberg made the printing press around 1440, and that allowed for mass production of books. So the design was adopted and spread across Europe, and at this point it would have had over 100 years to adapt and advance, which is in man's nature to make things better. So they were already mass producing things at this time. In fact, I have something by Benedict Anderson in Imagine Communities saying that. So that's bullshit. I'm sorry, I have to correct that. So yes, books were being mass produced at this time. And it all began with Gutenberg's 42-line Bible, which was, I believe, adapted from the translation that Martin Luther did while he was in hiding. What was he reading? What he was reading had been copied by a scribe. They weren't really doing that anymore because of the printing press. I presume he had borrowed it from the church. The book, having passed through many hands over many years, was visibly worn, but I suppose that just speaks to its importance. It was, in fact, a Latin grammar textbook he was reading. Mel was a clever boy. He had attended church from a very young age, where a priest would instruct him in Latin grammar. The church was still conducting things in Latin, but due to Martin Luther's 99 Theses, where he kind of called the church out on using Latin when the common people didn't know it, and that being misleading, they were starting to switch from that, at least in the Lutheran church that was established against Luther's wishes. They conducted it in a dialect of German that Martin Luther helped create by his translation of the Bible, where he took some pieces in Northern German and some pieces of Southern German and combined them so you could understand it. No matter where you were in Germany, everybody understood it. And you could fill in the gaps of what you didn't know. I'm sorry, I'm such a German major. So at that time, I believe he was capable of reading even advanced texts. Oh, dearest Mel, please. I thought I did something again. The young girl approached her brother, who was consumed by the text. Me. I do that a lot. In her hands, she carried a large pile of rose petals. Though his sister's shadow overlapped with the trees, the boy still did not notice. So Nellie puffed her cheeks, thrust out her slender arms, and let the petals fall. Ah! Look, your head is covered in roses, Mel. Oh, Nellie, you got petals on the book. This isn't mine. I can't afford to let it get dirty. It's your fault, dearest Mel. I tried to get your attention. And besides, flowers won't get it dirty. I must raise the white flag. When did my little lady find herself such a sharp wit? While waiting for you, dearest Mel. I waited, and you didn't so much as glance at me. I'll be an adult by the time you're done reading that book. Wow, that soon? That soon. She's sassy. Mother says girls grow up fast. That is true. Girls mature physically faster than boys, and some people argue they mature a little faster mentally as well. She may be right. In that case, we should do something together before you're all grown up. Surely you won't play with me any longer when you become an adult. That's not true. I'll still play with you even when I'm grown up. But grown-ups don't play, Nellie. Fine, I'll stay a child forever then. Didn't you just say you were about to grow up? You're so mean, Mel. I'm sorry. Please don't pout, my little lady. I'm not gonna get the phone because I'm pretty sure it's a robot trying to scam me on my social security like they've been trying to do. Or it's a relative looking for somebody else that lives here. How about this? To make it up to you, I'll play whatever you want today. Really? Do you mean it? I want to play make-believe. Make-believe? Make-believe. I will be a princess taken captive by an evil kingdom. And you, dearest Mel, will be my valiant knight. And then you turn into a prince when you rescue me. That's not how it works. A knight can become a prince? Impressive. It can. Knights and princes both have to be charming, so of course they can. Which is why it must be you, dearest Mel. No one else can be my prince, or my knight. While he may have appeared outwardly embarrassed as his rose-cheeked sister proclaimed pratingly, I am certain he was smiling on the inside. Well, technically he's smiling right there, but we'll just glance over that. After a few moments, he meekly knelt, bringing himself to eye level with Nellie and gently stroking her soft hair. All right, then. You're my princess, Nellie. And not just anyone's princess, dearest Mel, but yours alone. So, don't be anyone else's prince but mine, okay? Nellie. Jeez, my princess is quite the fawner. Is that bad? Does that make you dislike me? Not at all. I'm proud to have you as my sister, Nellie. You mean more to me than anything in the world, my dear princess. I love you, dearest Mel. You'll always be my prince forever and ever. Her mood quite improved, Nellie began humming the melody of a song she had forgotten the lyrics to. Holding the skirt of her dress out from her body, the young girl pranced about the rose garden. Mel, his eyes on her back, gave a little shrug. Oh, Nellie, don't come crying to me if you trip running like that. But Mel was not entirely disapproving of his sister's excitement. He carefully brushed aside the petals on his book, set it in the shade of the tree, and began chasing after Nellie. They were picturesque siblings, brimming with hope. And at this time in their lives, there was nothing to jeopardize that hope. Not until 30 years war, bitch. Would it not be wonderful if children could stay children forever, Master? As I see it, though, the pleasant, gentle times in our lives have value because they come to an end. That is true. Wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I have to agree with that logic. Time continues to flow, impartial and without exception. And as such, everyone's childhood comes to an end. Be that as it may, does time also flow at the same speed for each individual? Now, let us take a trip down the river of time. I would be very much delighted if we could remain at this point in time, but unfortunately we cannot. Please, do not let go of my hand, Master. Alright, so I'm gonna cut it here, and we're gonna leave on grown-up Mel in what looks like a church, and we'll continue from there.